Hi there. I wanted to say hello to everyone and say that I'm not going to be here for the next couple of weeks because I'm going to be going back to my hometown in Chicago, so that I will also hopefully get to Southern Illinois and see the total solar eclipse while it's going on, which will be triple plus awesome. By my going back there, I've been here for approaching 2 years. Scars Publications decided to release 2 books of mine, of my writings here in Texas. If you are attracted to someone's pheromones, I like to thank John Yatko for coming up with the word pheromemes, because maybe you're interested in my ideas or words or whatnot. There was a book called 2015 to 2017 Poems of Pheromemes, and there was also a book of pheromemes of show poems, of poems that I've done at features and shows here in Austin. I've got proof copies now, they're all $10 a pop, but I thought I would share 3 poems from the show poems book for you that I have never read here before. They're all very differently themed. Different themes. This first one was done at a feature last October about firsts in life. There was some sort of theme like that, and so I think this was about having your first job, and this poem is called Saving Fingers and Scooping Ice Cream. One summer day in August, I was 16 at the time, Sister Sandy and I were at home. It was an average Thursday. Mom was golfing, Dad was at Brother Bob's farmyard doing something manlike, cutting wood or something. And I was getting ready for a summer job interview that morning. The phone rang, I answered it, and suddenly there's a strange voice on the other line talking, asking, "Is your mother there?" And so I thought it was Greg, a friend of my dad's, that liked to put on these fake voices and try to fool the kids. So I said, in the most cordial voice I could find, I said, "No, she's not. Could I take a message?" And then the voice at the other end started going on about how he's cut his finger and he has to go to the hospital. And then it finally occurred to me that this was my father, and he was in so much pain that he could barely speak. And so he hangs up the phone, and Sandy and I called the golf course, hoping to catch Mom, but she's already left. And while we wait for her to come down to drive home, Dad comes home to get us and bring us to the hospital with him. And I see him. His hand is wrapped in a t-shirt, half soaked in blood. Sandy gets in the wagon, but she told me to wait at home for Mom. So Dad whips the car out of the driveway and down the road. And I just stood there in the driveway, suddenly alone, and I watched him drive away, and I was so distraught. I started to cry, but I had to keep myself together because I didn't want to make it sound serious when I told Mom and make her more nervous. I didn't want her to cry. He cut his fingers. He needs stitches, but he was going to be fine. He wasn't going to die. So I waited at the front window, and then when I saw her car drive down the road, I went to the garage. When she pulled in, I just hopped on the passenger side, and before she turned off the engine, "Come on, let's go," I said. I tried to have a smile on my face. I tried to preface the story with, "Let me just say that everything is fine. But you know when bad news is coming, right?" So I tried to make it sound funny, like, "Dad, the klutz cut his hand. I hope I did a good job." For 11 blocks, I had to be the reasonable one and act like everything was fine, even when he actually lost the tips of 2 of his fingers. And it was an interesting excuse explaining why I was late for my first job interview. And I got the job at this iconic ice cream parlor. Now, only boys were allowed to scoop ice cream there, so my job was to work at their brand new candy counter. So one day I was at work with the boss and the deliveries were dropped off. I picked up a larger box and the owner just stopped me. "Oh, wait, that's heavy. You shouldn't carry that." And I laughed, saying that I'd pick up 50-pound ice blocks for our water softener, that I'm fine. And I think maybe him seeing that women can stand up for themselves made it okay, in the heat of summer, when the lines were out the door for ice cream, for me to leave the empty chocolate counter and be the first female there to ever scoop ice cream with the big boys. Looking back, some may say I was a feminist pioneer for being the first female to scoop ice cream there, but when I look back, I didn't see it that way. I just remember homemade chocolate ice cream with chocolate chips, molasses bits, and added fudge. And that, my friends, was whipped into the perfect shake, no matter which gender did the work. Thank you. This is actually a new poem because I had a feature on August 6th at the Baha'i Center, and the theme was peace. And I wrote this piece for it, and it's called Protecting Peace Can Put You in Prison. The first Nobel Peace Prize was granted in 1901. The first Nobel Peace Prize laureate was to die in prison was Karl von Ossietzky, detained by Nazi Germany. He had died in prison in 1938. But there's a new death. Do not fret, because it seems that peace can be squashed in any millennia. Do you remember the Tiananmen Square riots back in 1989? Or at least the iconic photo of a student in front of a tank? Well, the students didn't battle the Chinese government on their own and win. They had help from Liu Xiaobo. This man for peace was revered for his work, but the Chinese government stopped him back in 2008 because he was drafting and promoting a manifesto promoting peaceful political change. And for this, the Chinese government imprisoned him for subversion. Yes, for subversion. This man was sentenced to 11 years in prison. And it was while he was in prison that he was granted the Nobel Peace Prize. You can sit in the chair, because during the Oslo Awards ceremony, they left an empty chair for their imprisoned man of honor. And now the Chinese government bears responsibility more than for imprisoning a Nobel Peace Prize laureate who only promoted peaceful politics, but for failure to properly diagnose and treat his ailments. Because on July 13th, the imprisoned Peace Prize winner died in detention of liver cancer at age 61. And sure, we can look around the room and think that we are nice to other people, that we respect other people. And we may think as we look around the room that other people feel the same way toward us. And it's wonderful to surround yourself with people like you, who think like you, who cushion you from anyone who may think differently. Because when you stay in your own bubble, everything seems fine. But it's only when we see those who choose to fight, those who are trounced upon and downtrodden, only because they promote a peaceful coexistence, that staying with supporters is seldom the solution. Peace with the ones you know is one thing. Peace with a mortal enemy is another. When others decide that you were at fault for some unknown reason. So maybe the key to promoting peace is not to share our ideas with those like-minded souls you're near, but to find people least like you, religiously, racially, politically, and just extend your hand in peace, and then see who will take your hand.